So maybe what we should do in Russell's point of view is, rather than saying that God exists in a single universal now that defines what now really means, the way Craig would have it, is to say that God is with us in each of our individual nows. And that's God's way of perceiving the universe, is by looking at it through the eyes, so to speak, more or less metaphorically, of everything in the universe. That rather than sort of looking down at what's happening on the stage of creation from the royal box, so to speak, that God is seeing what happens through the eyes of each of the actors, and for that matter, potentially through the eyes of all the props and all the pieces of scenery. And if you go to a couple of theologians, or a number of theologians who get called the Boston Personalists, Boston because they worked out of Boston University, you find that they have, even outside the framework of relativity, already come up with a way of thinking about God's interaction with the creation that looks a lot like this. One of them, incidentally, Edgar Brightman, was Dr. Martin Luther King's PhD advisor. So when he was becoming Dr. King, he was working with Edgar Brightman. So I think these two things kind of fit together in a really productive, generative way. The idea that rather than personhood being this distortion of a timeless, pure, mathematical, non-linguistic reality, maybe personhood is the core of what is. Maybe our individual, different, irreconcilable ways of looking at the world is a really important feature of how the world is. And that because God, who created the universe, who brought the universe into existence, is a person. Not exactly in the same way that we are, because God is infinite and has all sorts of characteristics that, as we talked about, we can't know about or even talk about very well. But that God's personhood is in some way analogous to ours. And so that personhood becomes a really important thing for us to keep in mind as we talk about existence. And that if we can't translate that personhood into mathematics, then that's okay, because mathematics doesn't have to be the only tool that we use to describe how things are.
Yeah, your explanation reminds me a lot of the way that Teresa of Avila saw the way that God interacts with people. Or she said, Christ has no body but yours, no hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes through which he looks compassion on the world. Yours are the feet with which he walks to do good. Yours are the hands through which he blesses all the world. Yours are the hands, yours are the feet, yours are the eyes, yours are the body. Christ has no body now on earth but yours.
Right. And even, I think it works beautifully well, even talking about Christ's incarnation, during those 30-some years in Judea, right? That when God became incarnate, speaking here as a Christian, that it was as a particular human being in a particular time and place. That God was this one guy with who only walked around a very small area of the earth, right? That God did all that God had to do in that incarnation, even with this perspective that was very circumscribed, very short in terms of time, and very localized in terms of space. And that's okay. That's just how things are.